So apparently there's still a live-action Pokémon series in the works over at Netflix. Now, we've known about this for a while. The first time it was really officially announced was like more than 3 years ago, back in 2021, where we really just got a tidbit mentioning that the project was in early development. And since then, we have heard nothing. But more recently, fans have grasped onto the slightest bit of news coming from an industry insider that it is supposedly still in the works. Yeah, not a whole lot going on, but over the past few weeks I've really been thinking. Especially now that we got the first trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And thinking back to the Detective Pikachu movie back in 2019, it's interesting to see that both it and the first Sonic movie have had wildly different journeys since their releases. After fixing the design of Sonic himself, Paramount was somehow able to lock in and put out 3 movies, a streaming series, and a special short.
The Flames of Disaster!
And when it comes to live-action Pokémon, we've had one cool movie and that's about it. Now, I'm not really saying that I need there to be a live-action Pokémon series or more movies. I mean, there's always the main anime and various spin-offs to enjoy that honestly are the best ways to adapt the world of Pokémon. But when you start something and give the promise that there will eventually be more like it, maybe it should be followed up on. Obviously that's gonna take time, but right now I figured I'd talk about it and give some of my suggestions or wishlist items, I guess you would call them, while we continue waiting for more official announcements. For one thing, I would genuinely want this to be an original story. Detective Pikachu was adapted from the video game, though it took a few creative liberties in the final execution. And yet a good amount of fans were wondering why there couldn't just be a live-action adaptation of the anime with Ash, Brock, and Misty at the center, just going off of what was the most popular. Looking back on it, I feel that Detective Pikachu was actually the right choice when it comes to the first movie because it allows you to feature the most recognizable Pokémon while being in a manageable setting of Rhyme City, building off of a self-contained story with a beginning and an end. But it no doubt had some trouble drawing in everybody possible due to the fact that it was based on one of the least popular video games. You can't really put out anything with Pokemon in the title and expect it to be a hit. Despite that, Detective Pikachu performed well enough, regarded as one of the best live-action video game movies and making a decent amount of money at the box office. Though I feel like that left us with a big question, where do we go from here? Sure, we did get another Detective Pikachu video game, but even then I don't think a direct movie sequel would be the best idea.
The people want more Detective Pikachu.
That's true. I've heard that, yes. I want more of it too. I've heard rumors that they might be doing a second one, but I don't know if I'm a part of it.
So now with the rumors of a current Netflix series in development, the word is that it will be based more on the main series video games, possibly focusing on Red as the protagonist. And I've gotta say that while it would be the safest bet, I wouldn't want to see it. I mean, Pokemon is so expansive and has a lot to draw from. I know that to appeal to the most people, you need to basically make the exact movie they're imagining in their heads. They want to see the same thing they loved before, but in a different medium. Again, that's talking about the masses. But what I feel makes Pokemon media work the best is when you play around with a world that's being created. The anime doesn't really replicate the videos one-to-one, even back when Ash Ketchum was the protagonist. Taking the ideas and setting, but adapting it with different characters and story beats makes something completely new that's still enjoyable. The Pokemon Adventures manga, where we see Red as the protagonist, is very different from the video games. So the way to make a new live-action Pokemon series the most faithful would be to take it in a very different direction. So I really wouldn't want to see the story of Pokemon Red, but just done in the real world, because we've actually sort of seen that already with Pokemon Origins, which is one of the best anime spin-offs. But unfortunately, that sort of creates an interesting conundrum. If you do adapt the story that people love into live action, it'll never be as good as the original and it won't capture the same charm that made it special. If you create something completely new, it won't draw in the same large crowd and might be dismissed from the first trailer. So really, what can you do?
But the effects were decent.
At the very least, I think Detective Pikachu was successful enough to serve as a good example. But right now, I do want to talk about the style. Now, Detective Pikachu I actually think did a great job developing its own style. The way that it was produced really nailed this detective in the city vibe while also having some bright and cutesy moments that fit Pokemon very well. That said, whatever they're cooking over at Netflix will probably be remade from the ground up, given that the movie was made by Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures, and that probably won't carry over into the series made at Netflix. Not in the same way that the Sonic stuff has all been under Paramount, but I think there's potential for it to look good. Forget all that terrible AI-generated slop you've probably seen everywhere, it will not look like that, trust me.
What? It's just an ordinary Krabby. Oh my goodness!
If anything, they can honestly take a note from Sonic, which has been getting more and more animated with each movie, because they've been introducing more animated characters, which really works well for them.
You're a colorful bunch.
In a live-action setting, the Pokemon can be goofy, the world can be bright alongside actual people, but it just needs to be done well. You know, here's another random thought I've been having. So recently we also got a trailer for the upcoming Star Wars series Skeleton Crew, which is basically doing the whole Amblin style in 1980s coming-of-age story in a Star Wars setting. And while that sounds odd at first, some of the visuals really sold me on the idea, and I think it could work if the whole thing is approached in this way. But I'm not gonna hold my breath. The point is that it got me thinking when it comes to Pokemon, given that there's literally a Stand By Me reference in Pokemon Red and Blue. This visual of a group of boys walking down the train tracks off to explore what's just beyond their homes was also used in the amazing music video for Gacha, that Pokemon anniversary celebration from a while ago. Basically, I feel like that sort of tone and a bit of that style captures what Pokemon is at its very core, harkening back to the inspiration behind the concept with Satoshi Tajiri's hobby of collecting bugs and witnessing the world develop around him as he grows up. I mentioned this in a video before, but that kind of vibe is exactly what the entire first game is based on. So while I don't really want a retread of the Red and Blue story, again we already had that with Pokemon Origins, we can still have Red exploring Kanto, but have him doing something else other than just gym battles and stopping Team Rocket, or do it in a different way like how Pokemon Adventures didn't adhere to the story. Truly, I would want a whole new cast of characters with their own Pokemon wandering out across a world inspired by the game, stumbling into a different adventure. You can still have like Pikachu there, owned by one of the main characters, but you know, just have it be a different Pikachu, like we've been seeing recently. In fact, you can shift the decade of focus and give it more of a 90s era feeling to bring everything together that way. I'm not sure of making it exactly like those types of movies with a large kind of cast, adventuring, you know, coming of age, because maybe audiences could be getting bored of it. That style of thing already had its revival and we might be past it. But I know for sure if Netflix got a whiff of this kind of idea, they wouldn't hesitate to sell you Stranger Things again, except it's 90s and it's Pokemon. Well, those are just some of my thoughts about the whole thing. Why we haven't seen any developments, why it should embrace the animated feeling of the world and create a new story that still builds upon the core concept, and why despite everything I just said, it probably still won't work and it'll just be okay. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you have any good ideas of how to make this series that's reportedly still in the works, and when you think we'll get any more news on the topic. All I know is that right now, the best we're seeing come out of Pokemon and Netflix is Pokemon Concierge. You should totally watch that show before Season 2 comes out. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, including the Great Gators, Lockadox, Vossboss, The Keeper, Riley the Fake Dragon Lady, Adam M, Flockster J, Mobile Empire, Slimy Chris, Angel X, Panther Start, Michael Snyder, Koi13, Cemetery Hill, Pastel Blood, Cosmo Zero, Rainfrux, Cheez-It62, Alex Witch, Shiny Hunter, Gator Kid 509, TF, Mathaclock 947, Taijirai, Justin R, Phantom, and Quago. If you would like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes for comments, live streams, and sometimes early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well for more memes, but anyway, this is GatorX, and I'll catch you all later.
Hold my hat. I'm about to rock this place.
Tonight on Cartoon Network's Acme Night. Partner up.
We're gonna do this.
With a legendary hero.
Bingo.
Gotta catch him soon.
This is very exciting. Are you excited?
I think he just peed a little.
When Acme Night presents Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
And he knows me too.
Premieres tonight at 6.
Pikachu, run!
Epic movies for everyone on Cartoon Network.